Wow, it got quiet in here. Good morning, good morning. Welcome to worship at Holmeswood. I'm Mark Garrett, and I'm glad to see you this morning. It is so good to worship with you, and we send welcome to those of you who are worshiping online. If you're online, please greet others in the comment box. If this is your first time to worship at Holmeswood, we're glad you're here with us. We would love to get to know you. Please use the QR code on the worship bulletin or the screen or a card from the back of the pew to let us know how you prefer to connect with Holmeswood. When you complete the information, $10 will be donated to Community Assistance Council in your honor. We do have several announcements today. The first one being Wednesday night rehearsals will begin again on February 5th. This is for handbells and the choir. If you've been on the fence about singing or playing with us, this would be a great time to join us as we make music together. Handbells will rehearse at 6 p.m. and the choir will rehearse at 7:30 p.m. Again, that's Wednesday, February the 5th. Open Doors. The next Open Doors will be a video-based discussion series facilitated by John Brown called The Economy of Love. In this study, we will unpack what the patterns of God's kingdom look like compared to the patterns of the world. What is the value of enough, and how do we become more like God, who is close to the poor, the hungry, the meek, and the merciful? This series will run for 3 weeks at 9 a.m. on Sunday mornings, February 9th, 16th, and 23rd. The business meeting. The first 2025 quarterly church business meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, February 19th at 6:30 p.m. This will be an important meeting because not only will we be discussing the normal work of the church, but we will also have 2 important presentations and conversations. We really do encourage everyone to come and participate. First, an update on the sanctuary renovation loan and plans to finish paying it off while also preparing for our future. The second presentation will be from the marketing team. The marketing team will present their final recommendation concerning the church name and tagline. There will be time for Q&A and discussion at that meeting. In order to provide everyone time to process the recommendations and the conversation, an official vote will not be taken that night, but it will be taken at a later Sunday morning after worship. On the Sunday in which there is a vote, there will not be another presentation or discussion. As always, you can attend the meeting in person, which is the preferred route, but you can also attend via Zoom. Please make plans to participate in this important meeting. And finally, there's a church luncheon. Backed by popular demand this year, we'll be having a You Are Loved all-church luncheon after church on Sunday, February 23rd in Fellowship Hall. We hope that you all can attend. This morning, you are welcome to this place. We are here to worship God and to recognize that God who is with us. You're invited to bring all of who you are before God, who receives each of us and is present with us. Thanks be to God. Let us worship together.
Good morning, Holmeswood. It is good to be together. Let's stand and sing. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are
You are here, turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. 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 That is who you are.
All right, at this time we invite the children to come forward here to help us in worship this morning with a children's moment on the front pew. All right, good morning everybody, welcome. Welcome, welcome. See, you're still carrying your project from this morning. That was fun, huh? Yeah, that was a fun time. All right, it is so good to have you back with us in worship again today. You know, you all are very important to helping us worship because one of the things that you help all of us do together is to get ready for the story that Pastor David's going to use to help us think about our lives. And today we are thinking about in here moving. I don't know, in that screen that we just saw before when we sang that song, there was a big old moving truck with where people took their boxes. I wonder, have any of you ever moved homes before? Some of you have? Yeah. I tell you what, if you haven't yet, guys, you will, because I'm pretty sure your parents are going to make sure you move someday. But you know, as we start thinking about this, I got to thinking how many times I have moved in my life. Now, I'm over 50 years old, and I have moved over 10 times. I think 12, if you count when I was a baby and moved from one house to another. So there are times that we move. What are some times and reasons why sometimes we move from one home to another? Yeah.
Your house is dangerous.
Your house might be dangerous, and you need a new one. Yeah, okay.
Your house might have got on fire.
Your house might have got on fire. That was one of the reasons I moved. When I was 12, our house burnt down. We moved. Yeah.
The house there might be more people in the house, and then the house seems to get smaller and smaller when more people come in.
You may have the people living in the house. We may have gotten too many, so we need a bigger house. Yeah.
You just need an upgrade.
You just need an upgrade. Time for an upgrade. These are good reasons. Sometimes you just want to move for fun. Has anybody done that? I just want a different house. Or I just want you may want a bigger house, and then you go, I want something new. I want something smaller. You get to my age, you start thinking, maybe I want a different. Somebody out here? Yeah?
Yeah, I have a question. When my first apartment, Holmeswood, on the little creek just caught fire where I used to live, that I have to move to a different apartment.
You had to move to a different apartment. You have to.
Bus stop.
Yeah, you had to get to a different location. There are lots of reasons people move. In the Bible story today that Pastor David's going to refer to, it's in the beginning part of our Bible, in the book of Genesis, early on, one of those early stories about a guy named Jacob. And Jacob was moving from his home with his mom and his community with his mom and dad and brother, because he got in a fight with his brother. I mean, he stole some things from his brother. He did some pretty yucky things. And it wasn't safe for him there anymore. So he left. Now, this is an interesting story, and I'm just telling you a little bit because you'll want to study this one a lot in your life. But he was moving, and as he was moving by himself, one time he went to sleep and he had this dream, and this dream helped him realize that no matter where he went, for whatever reason he was going, God was still with him wherever he lived. In the parents' house, in your apartment, in your big house, the little house, the crowded house, the empty house, that God is always with us. And this is the story in the beginning of the Bible, and then because it tells us something really important about God that we need to remember as we read all the rest of the stories and we live the rest of our lives, and that is that God is always with us, wherever we are, wherever we go to sleep at night, or wherever we wake up. God is always there. Will you pray with me? God, we thank you so much that even in times that we're moving and things are changing and we go to live someplace new, that we don't leave you behind, that you're present with us, moving with us through whatever changes are happening for whatever reasons. And we thank you for that. And we thank you for the Bible, which tells us these stories to help us remember. In your name we pray. Amen.
Let's stand and sing together. Jesus, draw me ever nearer.
Jesus, draw me ever nearer as I labor through the storm. You have called me to this passage, and I'll follow though I'm born. May this journey Jesus, guide me through the tempest. Keep my spirit stayed and sure. When the midnight meets the morning, let me love you even more. May this journey rise on wings of this mountain top, looking just how far we've come, knowing that for every step you were with us, kneeling on this holy ground, seeing just how much you've done, knowing every victory was your power in us. Scars and struggles on the way, but with joy our hearts can say, yes, our hearts can say. Never once did we ever walk alone. Never once did you leave us on our own. You are faithful, God, you are faithful. Kneeling on this holy ground, seeing just how much you've done, knowing ever victory was your power in us. Scars and struggles on the way, but with joy our hearts can say, yes, our hearts can say. Never once did we ever walk alone. Never once did you leave us on our own. You are faithful, God, you are faithful. You are faithful, God, you are faithful. Scars and struggles on the way, but with joy our hearts can say, never once did we ever walk alone. Carried by your constant grace, held within your perfect peace. Never once did we ever walk alone. Never once did we ever walk alone. Never once did we leave us on our own. You are faithful, God, you are faithful. Every step we are breathing in your grace. Evermore we'll be breathing out your praise. You are faithful, God, you are faithful. You are faithful, God, you are faithful. You are faithful, God, you are faithful. You are faithful, God, you are faithful.
We have the opportunity to come to the communion table. This table is not controlled by a minister or a congregation or a denomination. Instead, it is Jesus who invites us here to gather, to remember, to be united in this meal. Jesus lived a life of love in alignment with the goodness of God and God's longing for creation to be whole. He taught and spoke truthfully in the face of powers that opposed him, and he stayed on his path with integrity until those powers killed him. But that violence was not enough to stop the nonviolent power of God from raising Jesus from the dead to be a sign of what is to come, a new creation, a way of being that is suffused with the glory of God all around us. And this table is a thin place where we can see that glory revealed in the everyday and the mundane. The glory of God in bread and cup and community. Deacons, would you come forward as we prepare to share this meal? The deacons will distribute the elements, the bread and the cup, to you as we pass the trays. I would invite you to hold on to them prayerfully and wait until we partake together. Those of you who are joining us online, feel free to find whatever food and drink you have close to hand. All are welcome to participate. Today we remember how Jesus took bread, thanked God, and broke it. He gave it to the ones who loved him. He gave it to the one who betrayed him. And he gave it to those who would leave him and then return. He told them all, "This is my body broken for you." No matter who you are, God gives this bread, this body, for you. Let's eat together. In the same way, Jesus also took the cup after supper and said, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood. Do this in remembrance of me." The love of Christ is contained here, is revealed here. And we remember today the life that Jesus lived, the death that he faced, and we celebrate our inclusion into that story. The beating heart of that story is undying love. The love of Christ is poured out for us, to us, and through us. Let's drink together.
Sometimes it is good to hear a different voice. Do you hear what Michael said? Jesus gave of his body, gave of himself to the ones who loved him, the one who betrayed him, the ones who left and returned. What a provocative way. I'm finding myself it's becoming more difficult to embrace that way to the people to whom I disagree. And yet, if I and if we as followers of Jesus are going to fully embody that way, we have to be a people who embody love no matter what. That doesn't mean rolling over and accepting what is as is. But if we're going to be about anything, we better be about Jesus. And if we're going to embody Jesus, we better embody love. It's good to see you this morning. I was so thrilled the other night, on Friday night, just so that you know, to walk into the gym and seeing 22 adults and 29 little kids skating around, laughing, playing games. Thank you to Tammy. I'm pointing right there. She's not right there. She's with the kids, but that's her spot, you know. Thank you to Tammy. Thank you, Carmen. Thank you, Maria. Thank you to the whole team for gathering folk together. It's just plain fun being together. Today is the final Sunday of this series entitled Transitions. What we've named and recognized is that when life happens, it doesn't happen in clear segments. You don't go exactly from one stage to another. Life is filled with movements, with transitions, with this liminal space kind of a thing. And so 2 weeks ago, we discussed about children, young children, that no matter how old you are, each one of us are still a child. We have parents, whether they lived or died, we are still a child ourselves, and we are all children of God. Now, that could be a sermon right there, too. What then the challenge for us in this particular space, though, is with those who are young in age. How are we helping lay the foundation of what faith might look like, of what this God might be in their lives? What are we teaching? What are we embodying? So that as they transition through life, what do they revert back to? Do you hear what I'm saying? Transition. Last week, we looked at grief. Grief is not linear. You don't move exactly from one stage to the other without returning back. It is much more of a waltz. It is much more of a movement. it doesn't end, does it? Once you have tasted the cup of grief, it is always in some kind of a way inside of you. And it's not just one grief, it is multiple griefs. So where in the midst of all of this grief is God? That's the question that we considered, and I hope you continued to wonder and ponder about this past week. This week, transitioning in moving. As Tammy mentioned, every one of us have moved at some point. And spoiler alert, unless you die in your house, you're going to move again. So, where is God in the midst of all of this? A sense of transition. 13% of the annual U.S. population is going to move this year. Theologically, how do we play with that? What does this mean for you and for me today? So, if you have your copy of the First Testament, the Old Testament, this is a really easy book to find. We're going to be in the story of the book of Genesis. And how does Julie Andrews start it? Let's start at the very beginning. A very good place to start. So if you're not really sure where Genesis is, well, just open it up to the very beginning and you're in the exact spot you need to be. Once you're in the book of Genesis, keep turning until you get to chapter 28, 2:8. We're going to hear the story of Jacob. Now, you might remember Jacob is the son of Isaac, which then makes Jacob the grandson of Abraham, Father Abraham. This is the setting in which we find ourselves. Jacob is now on the run. He is running away from some significant deception that he created and he enacted. The name Jacob means trickster. He's not a positive, good character. And yet, he is part of the holy three of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob of the foundation of this faith. What does that mean? That God chose Jacob, the shyster, the scoundrel, the scallywag, to be a significant leader. Genesis chapter 28, verses 10 through 18. The community tells the story this way. Jacob left Beersheba and went towards Haran. He came to a certain place and stayed there for the night because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones of the place, he put it under his head and lay down in that place. And Jacob dreamed that there was a ladder, a ramp, set up on the earth, and the top of it reached all the way up to the heavens. And the angels of God were ascending and descending on the ramp, on the ladder. And the Lord stood not on the ladder, but stood down on the ground right beside Jacob. And the Lord was standing behind him and said, Jacob, I am the Lord, the God of Abraham, your father, and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie I will give to you and to your offspring, and your offspring shall be like the dust of the earth. And you shall spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And all the families of the earth shall be blessed in you and in your offspring. Know that I am with you, and will keep you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land. For I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. Then Jacob woke from his sleep and said, Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. And Jacob was afraid and said, How awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. So Jacob rose early in the morning, and he took the stone that he had put under his head and set it up for a pillar and poured oil on top of it as a way to bless the place. Jacob has a dream of the angelic beings descending and ascending from the heavens into the earth. Jacob sees God right beside him in that dream. Curious side note. Jacob is the son of Isaac. Isaac was the son of Abraham. Do you remember the kind of relationship Abraham and Isaac had with each other? Abraham took Isaac up onto the mountain to sacrifice his son to the Yahweh God, to kill him. God eventually provides a goat, a ram, or whatever it was, to take the place of Isaac. Curiously, Abraham and Isaac never speak to each other again in the text after being up on the mountain. What kind of perception do you think Isaac might have towards this God that called for him to be sacrificed? What stories might or might not have been passed down from Isaac to his son Jacob about this God? And what might be rumbling inside of Jacob when he sees this God in a dream that says, I am your God. Trust me. Trust you? The one who called to sacrifice my father? Do you see the juiciness in this story? Transitions. Moving forward. In the year of 2020, there was a little thing known as COVID-19. You might remember that. There were lots of studies and research that happened in the midst of COVID-19 and the following years of how we as people embraced or reacted to the pandemic and to the shutdowns and things like this. One of the researchers named Deidre Barrett, who is a Harvard med school psychologist and professor, began researching dreams that people were having in the midst of COVID-19. Because anecdotally, what she was hearing was people were having much more vivid dreams during this time. And so Dr. Barrett began interviewing and surveying various people and people groups within the U.S. about their dreams. A couple things she discovered. For those who were on the hospital lines, there was a sense of trauma that was generating their dreams. For many people who stayed at home, they were getting more sleep because, well, they were at home. Now, it didn't necessarily mean that it was more restful sleep, but they were getting more sleep, which then provided more opportunity for REM sleep, REM sleep. For many people, though, it was as if the COVID-19 and the shutdown, that it was equated to this major life change or disruption. Dr. Barrett went on to describe the dreams in general. And she said, when you sleep, different parts of your brain go into action. It's as if the verbal areas of your brain slow down when you are dreaming, while the visual areas of your brain become much more active. She says, what's going on in your dream is often a continuation of your day, and you are processing all of this in another state of consciousness. Dr. Barrett says, quote, so it's not surprising that there seems to be a correlation between being anxious by day and having anxiety-filled dreams by night. And Jacob was having an anxiety-filled dream that night, a dream that was vivid. And it's no wonder that Jacob is having this wonderfully curious dream. Jacob is in the midst of an anxious-filled life. Jacob, at this point in the story, is on the run for his life. You remember what happened? A while ago, Jacob bargains with his twin brother Esau for a bit of the birthright, all for a price of a bowl of stew. And then when it came time for the time of blessing, to receive the blessing from his father, it was Jacob who put on the wool skin to mimic hairy arms, because his father had really poor eyesight. The trickster, the shyster, the scoundrel Jacob stole his brother's birthright and received the blessing from his father. And Esau, his brother, is ticked off. He's in this murderous rampage. And Esau says, if I'm going to do anything that's worth doing in my life, I'm going to spill the blood of my brother Jacob. So Jacob, warned by his mother, runs to the east. Now, anybody who runs and goes to the east in the stories of Scripture, they're headed in a dangerous, scary kind of way. Cain goes off to the east. Jonah runs to the east. Jacob flees and goes to the east. When someone goes to the east, we better start paying attention. Jacob is running. He's running in exile. He's now in the midst of exile. He's running from his home and his family, running from everything and everyone he knows. And he goes as far to the east as he can in the wilderness when all of a sudden the scariness of night encompasses him. And so he finds this random rock and lays his head on the ground and has an anxious-filled, vivid dream. And what he sees in this dream are the angels scurrying up and down from the heavens down to the earth on this ramp, on this ladder. And then it's not just the angels who are in the midst of this dream. Jacob sees God standing right beside him. This God who told his grandfather Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac. The God who Jacob had heard stories about this God with, I suspect, a bit of skepticism. And this God says to Jacob in the dream, Jacob, I am your God. What do you do with that? I am your God. I am the God of your parents. Oh, I know that. I've heard about you. I am the God of your people, and I've promised you a blessing. I've promised you land and family. You will be a blessing to all the families of the earth. Know that I am with you, and I will go with you. I will not leave you. That I promise. Can you buy that promise? Is this a trustworthy promise? What do you do when you are in the midst of the wilderness, covered in the darkness of night, and hear a promise from a God you don't fully trust? To be clear, in the biblical world, people understood dreams very differently than you and I. For them, dreams were a way people experienced an actual interaction with God. You might call it a theophany. Dreams were not explained away as a bit of psychology, or as Ebenezer Scrooge describes it in Christmas Carol with Marley, it's not a bit of undigested beef. No, dreams were a sense of a divine encounter, which is why Jacob suddenly wakes and proclaims, surely God is in this place. This is the house of God and the gateway to the heavens. I don't know how much confidence Jacob said that when he proclaimed it. I don't know if he accepted it right away because of the dream, or if he had to consider it for a moment. For Jacob, though, and his dream, what he articulates in this initial response is the nearness of God. In those first days of his exile that will last some 10 years, a decade, when Jacob is utterly alone, Jacob sees and experiences the presence of God. As I mentioned earlier, it's been estimated that some 40 million people, or 13% of the U.S., move each year. Now, some people move from apartment to house. Some downsize because their children have moved out of the house. Some folk move into assisted living. Some who have lived in their house for many decades leave that house in order to move closer to their children who will eventually take care of them. Some of them move just down a few blocks over. Some folk move across the country and across the world. People are moving, though. And I hate everything about moving. There is nothing pleasant about it. Packing up all of your stuff, wrapping up all the breakables and newspaper and bubble wrap, physically loading the truck, first deciding what to keep and what to throw away, what to give away. Then you got to load the truck, and then you got to unload the truck. Moving is filled with sweat. Moving is exhausting, and that's just the physical side of it. Then there's the emotional and the psychological side. Whenever you move to a new place, even if it's just 2 blocks over, you're moving into a new community with new rituals, new celebrations, new ways of relating to one another. You've got to find a new route to get to the grocery store. You've got to find the grocery store you're going to go to. It is just draining all around. But the reality is this: moving, whether you are 2 blocks from where you are now, or whether you are moving across the entire world, part of the story of Jacob in this dream is God is there. God is present. God is wherever you go. Which is why John Wesley, that great Methodist founder, wrote when reflecting upon Jacob's dream, Wesley said, "God is there where we did not think God had been, and God is found where we did not even ask." God is there where we did not think God had been. God was found where we did not ask. Now that's a provocative statement for today as well. In an anxious and fearful world, Jacob finds God near, everywhere, all the time. And the promise given to Jacob isn't just for Jacob. It's for Jacob and his offspring, and then those offspring, and those offspring, all the way down to each of us today, covering the entire world. Which means, if you and I embrace this promise that God is near everywhere and with everyone, it has to affect the way that we experience each and every situation and each and every person that you and I encounter. God is present in this space, and God is present over there. God is present in you. God is present in them. God is just as concerned with their plight. Do you hear more deeply what I'm trying to say? God is concerned with their plight, just as much as God is concerned about your plight. There are no second-class citizens in creation. There are no second-class citizens in creation. Our God, the God of Yahweh, the God of creation, cares about each and every child, no matter what anybody tries to say. God is concerned for them. God is concerned for you. And if we try to more fully embrace this promise, we begin to see ourselves connected. One might even say interconnected to others because of the nearness of God. There's a spiritual practice known as Celtic spirituality. It's a practice that came out of Ireland and Scotland many, many years ago. And Celtic spirituality emphasizes the nearness of God in all things. It sees God as present, near, in all things. And because there is a deep connection of the nearness of God, this means that I am always connected to God. I'm always connected to you and to each other. And I'm always connected to the great breadth of creation, so that there is no separation between my physical location and my work and prayer. One of the ways that is highlighted in this type of Celtic spirituality is known as the prayer of blessing. And what they do is in each blessing, there's a blessing that you can say for every ordinary practice that you do throughout the day. It goes something like this. You approach every moment in life and recognize it as a gift of God with a potential for good. You then ask God to bless whatever it is in that moment and you to create more good in the world. It goes something like this. Lord, bless the ground beneath my feet in every stop. May it lead me in a good and holy path. Bless my hands this morning. May they make something that is of use to this world. Bless this new space in which I find myself. May the experiences encountered here lead to a greater embrace of love. Bless this sidewalk in which I'm now walking. May it provide a means for greater connection between all people. This week, try something new if you're not doing this. Try to dabble in a bit of Celtic spirituality in each of your day-to-day moments. Bless the new morning. Bless the meal. Bless the room you enter. Bless the dishes and the trash can. Bless the road on which you drive. Bless the new space in which you enter. And bless the room in which you find most peace. Because every day, and every moment of every day, God is near. God is with you. Blessing your hands, that they reach out and embrace in love. Blessing your eyes, that you might see the beauty that is the fullness of creation. Blessing your ears, so that you might hear each and every person who is around you. Blessing your mouth, so that you might always speak truth. As you bless the ordinary moments of the day, as you bless the newness of each space, may you find that God is nearer than you have yet to imagine.
Let us respond this morning. First, a big thank you from the missions team, on behalf of the missions team, for our global CBF missions goal was $4,000, and as of January 30th, when we finished, we raised $3,393.86. So on behalf, thank you, congregation, for generous contributions to this wonderful mission. Job well done. Financially this morning, we can have offerings. Our offerings are here, our plates here. We can bring forward. If you need any help, just raise your hand. A deacon can help you. We also can give electronically versus the QR code as well. Now let's look spiritually. There were some words written, I think, thank you, David, this week I read. God is present when you are angry. when you are numb, when you're befuddled, and when you weep. But God glues you the strength to stand together on your feet. We are never alone. God is always with us. So if you're needing to respond to what God is doing in your life, whether it's exploring baptism, church membership, asking for prayers, David will be up front to greet you. So let us stand as we sing and respond.
Will you come and follow me if I but call your name? Will you go where you don't know and never be the same? Will you let my love be shown? Will you let my name be known? Will you let my life be grown in you? Will you leave yourself behind if I but call your name? Will you care for cruel and kind and never be the same? Will you risk the hostile stare? Should your life attract or scare? Will you let me answer prayer in you and you in me? Will you let the blinded see if I but call your name? Will you set the prisoners free and never be the same? Will you lace the leather clean and do such as this unseen and admit to what I need in you and you in me? Will you love the you hide if I but call your name? Will you quell the fear inside and never be the same? Will you use the faith you found to reshape the world around? Through my sight and touch and sound in you and you in me.
As you go from this place, know that you are loved just the way you are. Know the fullness of Christ is in you and is all around you. May you go with eyes seeing the beauty of creation. May you go with hands embodying more goodness. May you go with hearts extending more love. May you go as people of peace with the song in your soul.
Lord, your summons echoes true when you but call my name. Let me turn and follow you and never be the same. In your company I'll go where your love and footsteps show. Thus I'll move and live and grow in you and you in me.
Amen. Go in peace.